Hello and welcome to the next YouTube video on my channel. If you want to get better at chess, then this video is just right for you, because in this video I will show and explain you how to calculate correctly in chess. This is part 7 of this video series, so if you haven't watched part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 yet, feel free to watch them after you have watched this video, because in part 1 I've already started with the first technique and rule that you should always know in your chess games, and this was the rule of the pawn square. In part 2 I've talked about the arithmetic counting, in part 3 about the counting of attacks and defenses there are, in part 4 about the very important wandering square, in part 5 about the rule of the critical squares of the walkthrough pawn, and in part 6 about the rule of the critical squares of the blocked pawn. So in this video I will show and explain you the next technique and rule, so let's get started. No less important than the other rules and techniques that you should always know in your chess games is the rule of the matching square. Sometimes there's neat and pretty difficult examples of calculation, and the so-called matching squares are an example of this. Some notion of this technique can be given by the simplest training positions developed by one very strong and famous chess grandmaster. So in the position that you can see right now on the chessboard, the one loses who first attacks the opponent's pawn here. So if white attacks the black pawn on b6 first, then the white army loses, and if the black king attacks white's pawn on a6 first, then he loses. So here, for example, after king b5, this move will be directly followed by king a7, so therefore the white king has to move away somewhere from which he cannot defend his pawn on a6 anymore, for example on b4, and the black king just wins the white pawn on a6 and can instantly win this game by bringing this pawn here on b6 down on b1 and transform it to a queen. Therefore, the both kings maneuver in such a way that they can stand on the squares of correspondence to b5 and a7 after the opponent's move. Here, the right move for the white king would be to move on b4, because after king a8, king c4, king b8, king b4 again, and king a8 again, we can see that the black king can't get away from the a7 square, and the white king can get away from the b5 square. Maneuvering is not constrained here. The kings need to guard only one square, and therefore this game will end up in a draw. In the position that you can see right now on the chessboard, black on king d6 should be always able to answer with the move with the king on d8, because otherwise, if he does another move, for example if he moves on b8, then this pawn on c6, the white pawn, can just pass to the queen. So he moves on d8, and from this we can establish the matching squares d6 and d8. On the chessboard I will mark them now with the numbers 1. So in this position, d6 and d8, I mark them now. We're here with number 1. This is for white, and the number 1 for black is with a circle around it. So like this. But in this position, the white king can also move on c5 with the idea to move on b6 in the next move, to occupy b6 in the next move, and to take out black's pawn here on a6. Therefore, the black king on c5 should be able to move on c7 to prevent the white king from moving on b6. Therefore, we know that c5 and c7 are the second matching squares, and therefore I'll mark them now with the numbers 2. So here in this position, number 2 for white is here c5, and for black again with the circle around it, it's here now c7. In the watched position, the white king stands on a square from which he can occupy either the matching square 1 or 2 in any moment. But the black king in response can also occupy either the matching square 1 or the matching square 2 in any moment. So it is clear that the squares d5 and c8, on which the kings right now stand, are also matching each other. Therefore, I'll mark them now with the number 3s. So here, on the square in which the white king stands, marked with number 3, but I will still put him on the square, and on which the black king stands, here c8, also marked with number 3, but with a circle around the number. So after king d4 in this position, we can see that the white king is able to occupy either the matching square 2 or the matching square 3 in the next move. So, therefore, the black king here has to move either on b8 or on d8, because from both of these squares, either b8 or d8, he can also occupy either the matching square 2 or the matching square 3 in any moment or in the next move. So far, black has always had the matching squares. However, after king c4 with the white king, the white king still can occupy either the matching square with the number 2 or with the number 3 in the next move. But here, the black king cannot move on a square from which he can also do this. Because from here, he cannot move on, for example, b7 because of the white king here in c6. And if he would stand here in d8, he also could move here one square down on d7, 2, because of the white pawn on c6. Therefore, after king c4 in this position, the black king is forced, or the black army is forced, to lose this chess game. So now I come to the solution of the situation which I've shown you before on the chessboard. In the position here, white should move with the king one square down on b4. Here, he's now able to occupy either the matching square 2 or 3 in the next move. Therefore, the black king, how I've already said, has to escape either on the square b8 or on d8. That's not really important, but let's just say b8, because from here, or also from d8, he can occupy either the matching square 2 or matching square 3 in the next move. But here, the white king just moves now on c4, and from here he can too occupy either the matching square 2 or 3 in the next move. But the black king can't do this anymore with his next move. Therefore, he has to move here on c8, and now he's in comparison to the black king, but not able to occupy 2 or 3 in the next move, because he's already occupying the critical square 3 right now. Therefore, here the white king has to move on d4, on d5. So again, on his on the matching square 3, and from here we have now the same position, but with one difference, because now the next move will be made by the black army and not by the white army. So here it's not important how the black king will move now, because the white king will get on the square from which he can win this game. For example, after king c7, king c5, the black king moves one square up on b8, and now the white king just moves here on d6, and he can now move his pawn 2 squares up on c8 and transform it to a queen and win this game without any problems. But if black starts here with king c7, white answers with king c5, and now the black king moves on c8 or on d8, then the white king just gets here on b6, takes out black's pawn on a6 with the next move, and wins this game too easily. So, to master this win, the white king used the triangle of the squares d5, d4, and c4. So the white king used this magic triangle to occupy the magic squares and to win this game. And now I come to my second example on this topic. The position you can see right now on the chessboard happened in a real chess game back in 1957, and in this position the white army won this game, if they will play it right. So here in this position the white king has to occupy the c6 square, and then the win is easy to achieve. But now he cannot move on c6 because of the black king here on d7. Therefore, he now has to do the same as in this position that I've shown you before. He has to get in this same position, but with the difference that the king, that here the next move will be made by the black chess pieces and not by the white chess pieces. Because then, for example, if the king is not here, he just moves on c6 with the king, and then after pawn d6, the win is really very easy to achieve. So at first, let's find out where the matching squares are at this position. It is obviously that the positions of the both kings are very important here. Therefore, I will mark the squares c5 and d7 both with the number 1. So here the number 1 on c5. And again number 1, but with the circle around it for the black chess pieces here on d7. The second matching squares in this position, or also very decisive squares, are the squares b5 and d6. 6. Therefore, I'll mark them now with the numbers 2. So here, number 2 on B5, and number 2 with the circle around it here on D6. And the third pair of the matching squares, here this position are C4 at E7. Therefore, I'll mark them here with the numbers 3. So here C4 and the number 3 with the circle around it here, E7. So now we have found out this where the matching squares are, but what have we found out now? For the white king, this position, it is enough to move on b4, because from this position he is now able to occupy either the matching square 1, 2, or 3 in the next move. It is also not important which one exactly. But that wasn't already this game, because here the only square from which the black king could occupy the matching squares 1, 2, and 3 with the next move would be on e6. But unluckily, you cannot move on the square e6, which is matching the square b4 on which the white king stands right now. So he cannot move on e6 because of the white pawn on d5. Therefore, the black army just loses the game because it cannot occupy the matching squares which the white king occupies. So that was then already with this video in which I've shown and explained you the 7th rule technique that you should always note in your chess games to get better at chess and to learn how to calculate correctly in chess. So, we have learned that maneuvering on the matching squares is the only way to solve problems on the chessboard where the pawns are blocked and can't move anymore. So I hope that you liked this video. If you liked it, feel free to leave a like there and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Till next time, bye!